To put it in real life terms, think of it as working out. You're on a new workout plan. It works, for the first 2, 3, 4 months maybe. But then at some point you're gonna hit a plateau and you're gonna have to switch things up. If you keep doing the same thing, you're just gonna constantly, maintain. You're not going to exceed, your expectations. If you don't change your routine, you're going to just stay the same. And everyone who has changed their routine is going to surpass you.
Hello, everyone, viewers, listeners. Welcome to DNA's June 2024 webinar, Content Capital, Successful Crowdfunding, Marketing Strategies. Joined here by Richard and Khalil, who work on more of these content campaigns than anyone I'm aware of, alongside Ashley and our other content marketers on the team, going to share the inner workings of what get audiences primed to invest and actually converting. That's the most important metric on these digital campaigns, is the conversion rates. We're going to speak about that at length. Khalil, Content Marketing Director, would you like to provide the audience today introduction on yourself and what you're going to be speaking about today?
Yeah, of course. Hey, everyone, Khalil, I'm the content director here at DNA. This August will be coming up to 4 years here at DNA. And, during my time, learned the ins and outs of what it takes to be an awesome content marketer when it comes to these crowdfunding campaigns. And I was quickly to realize, how crucial it is to have a solid content marketing plan. There's times where clients will come to us and ask us why do we need content marketing? We just need ads. We just need traffic to our raise page. But they fail to realize, it's more than that, right? There's 7 to 17 different touch points that it takes to become a investor. The ads is a core piece of what we do, but the content is that surround sound. When someone is clicking on an ad, they're gonna see, what we're up to, what milestones we're hitting, really, get more education and to learn more. So, I know I went on here a little bit, but we're going to dive more into it throughout this webinar. But I'll allow Richard to talk about himself.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that, Khalil. Yeah, so my name is Richard Bowen. Been in DNA for going on 3 years in February of next year. But I've worked on so many of these campaigns, and it's been truly gratifying to see how great content turns a lot of these campaigns around. Just having, a solid plan, having great ideas, working with founders to come up with those new ideas. And yeah, we're here to share our experiences with you and, basically give you our blueprint to what we believe a successful content strategy is here at DNA.
And if this is your first webinar with us, we have worked on over 400 investor marketing campaigns here at DNA that have collectively produced 9 figures of capital. We often get asked about performance metrics, direct response, advertising, 10x return on ad spend type case studies that we have, but it is the content that statistically will increase conversion rates and nurture audiences through those touch points that the team is talking about. So Brendan, our creative director, has worked alongside Khalil and the team, Khalil and Richard and I, to put together this month's presentation deck, which we make available to audiences, but really recommend you staying on this recording, staying on this live broadcast, depending on when you're viewing it, to get the inside information. You have our mugshots, our professional photos, headshots, personas represented here, a little bit about DNA. And back to that question of why content marketing for investor acquisition, I want to add that, as Khalil and Richard pointed out, it is 7 or more touch points on average before an investor converts. We want to be intentional about what they see while they're searching around. This is what I picture when people are searching around their keyboard, when they're searching around and doing their own due diligence. Is there momentum? Is there traction? Is it stagnant and just, hey, the same thing I saw months ago? No new investments, no new investors, being featured, no, movement at all? Or does it feel like this is a moving ship and it's my chance as an opportunity to board and get to that destination of valuation growth? The content can really shape the audience's perspective based on the narrative that is distributed across these channels. So as I mentioned, statistically, we'll see a higher conversion rate. And this is a step, this all may sound self-explanatory, but this is a step skipped by most issuers. But then again, most issuers don't raise over 75K, on these campaigns. So we're going to show you what the top groups are doing to bring on capital with content marketing.
Yeah.
Richard, curious in your take, if someone was to ask you, why content marketing or regulated investment crowdfunding,
Mhm.
what would you like to implant in their head so that they're looking at it with the same lens as you?
Sure. So, I've said this before, I believe marketing overall is the lifeblood of any business, and especially within in investor marketing, it's something where people have to do their own due diligence, right? And let's say, a company is doing only ads, you know, to capture the audience's attention with, just one video or, just a short form piece of copy, likely it's the likelihood of them converting is not there, basically. And the content is something that nurtures them throughout if they want more information. It's something that, we utilize to give potential investors updates on, what our clients are doing, different pieces of third-party validation. The content takes many different structures, whether it be video or long form, but it's all to build a library for the potential investor to do their own due diligence.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in a content-driven world, right? Everyone's scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through Instagram, trying to just consume as much content as possible. And a lot of times they're going to go on your profile, whether that is on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and they're going to spend some time scrolling and do their research. And something if one content piece catches their attention, they're going to stay on that profile for at least 2 minutes just looking at other content pieces. I know when a TikTok video grabs my attention, I will instantly go into the profile and just watch 5 to 10 different TikToks just because that one TikTok caught my attention. And just think of that, when it comes to our content, it's when someone's hit with an ad, they're gonna click on that ad that they, enjoyed, and they're going to look at other aspects of your company. They're going to look at the content, they're going to look at those different milestones that we mentioned, and they're going to do their own due diligence.
That's right. And if you're presented with an investment opportunity tomorrow, probably not going to move on it tomorrow unless there is an aggressive timeline associated with it. So as you are, seeing more content, what is content, social media, email, webinars, articles, videos, you may be inspired further and further to participate and with more velocity around it. Khalil, what are the phases here? How does this all get brought to life?
Yeah, it all comes down to the plan, right? You don't want to go into a marketing campaign blindly. You want to strategize. You want to see what your competitors are doing. You want to know what type of content is going to work the best for your campaign. What portal updates do we need to schedule and strategize? What email templates do we need to create? What webinars are we going to have throughout our campaign? That all comes down in that strategy process. And even, before the campaign going live, it's how big is your audience? If you don't have that big of an audience, we do recommend doing a pre-launch campaign. So just, going from there and then planning it and then, building that audience, then you can go ahead and develop that content, where you're at with your campaign and then plan a distribution strategy I've worked with Richard on, developing these content strategies for our clients, and it amazes us sometimes how little of an audience, clients have. So, developing that content strategy can really boost your engagement and your audience overall.
So let's talk about how to create that content strategy. Where, for me, it really begins with strategy as a whole and determining where content fits into the overarching approach to produce the results. You can check out past webinars we've put together. There's a model that I've built called the 8-point plan, written about in Forbes, lead workshops on it regularly. And if we're just looking at the content strategy, we still have to look at the fundamentals of who are we pitching? Who is physically going to convert, actually going to invest? Richard, how do you envision the end prospect, the end investor, and what types of categories should the audience incorporate into their own plans, their own strategies here when trying to do this marketing?
Yeah, so it's all about just establishing who your audience is, and that basically changes from campaign to campaign, company to company, because everyone has like different audiences, but within the investor acquisition vertical some are similar, right? However, that's how we identify like marketing channels that we'll utilize based on age, work, income, interest, just different things like that that we see the audience being attracted to. Personally, if it's always great if a client comes in with a audience, that way we can gear our content, or based on what they believe their audience to be, we can gear our content creation around that. But that's just one approach that we generally take here at DNA.
Yeah, and what I like to point out is we're going to need the data to show us what's working. These are merely assumptions, audiences that we want to market test in the early stages of the campaign. But when I, worked in ad tech 15, 10 years ago, I would see these major brands, these Fortune 500s, breaking audiences down to the persona level. Theo and Leo, and talking about what Theo does on the weekends, and what inspires Leo to take action around his partners, family. I want to know who we're going after in terms of age, what they do for work, their income levels, which are not always, hey, let's go after the highest earners possible. Even looking at high net worth, that may not make sense on an individual taxable year. But the retail investors can really push these campaigns. We see that happen in the public markets as well, but especially on a Reg CF, a regulation crowdfund campaign, average investment may be $1,000. 2023, I believe it was just around 1,100, based on King's Crowd data. So it's may not be $1 million income audiences that you're going after. May not be six-figure for that matter. As much as let's get your target audiences for your actual growth, whether it's B2C and these are the customers, or whether it's B2B, but it's the end audiences for some of these products, or just individuals who are reading about your vertical, your industry on a daily basis. What are their wants, their needs, what are their interests, what type of behavior do they have, what other products do they buy? Are they subscribing to subscription services? Are they reluctant? Are there trust issues? What other brands are they following? Because you can model your content off those brands, even if it's another vertical. What publications, what platforms? I think it's very clear, especially in an election year, that individuals are shaped by the media they consume. The publications, the platforms where they're getting their real-time learnings around current events can tell you a lot about the messaging the narrative, the voice that they're going to respond to, and what you could put into your own organic content. So you want to identify your target investors, tailor content that will increase engagement and have variants of those. That way your hands are not tied to one audience. Richard mentioned, hey, who are your existing audiences? Let's include them. Let's include, div regulated investment crowdfunding investors. I know of investors that have participated in over 100 deals. Let's go after some of those folks. Let's go after high net worth. Let's go after, strategic type investors in your industry, but, have a very clear picture in mind on who's going to be receiving this content. It's not you. Don't just be, putting together content that you think is good or that your competitors will. We don't want ego to drive this, because it's not how we're measuring it by an ego boost at the end of the campaign. We're going to be calculating return on marketing spend. We're going to be looking at the marketing efficiency ratio in terms of dollars and investments that come out of it. So, let's look at it as productive as possible. Which audience members are going to actually produce the goals for you? Khalil, how do you create these customer personas?
Yeah. Well, it's all laid out here. So the first step is researching your target audience and identify common characteristics, develop that persona, consider their motivations, identify their objections, and refine your persona. So I really want to talk about number 5, identify their objections. There's a lot of these campaigns happening, and they're all the campaigns' end goal is to raise money. So it's, our goal when it comes to strategizing our marketing plan is, what can we do to really stand out, to be different from these other campaigns? We're all asking for capital. So, it's really see what they like, what they don't like, kind of do your research, go search your vertical, find another campaign that's very similar in your niche and see what, these investors are saying. Look at their testimonials, look at their update section on, the raise pages, look at the comments on the ads. What is that feedback that they're getting? And then take that feedback and apply it to your strategy. And then, from there, that's where you can refine your persona. And that's where that motivation comes in from. So you want to do all that due diligence to develop the type of content, is going to really wow your potential investors.
And don't skip these steps. Don't just picture the cast of Shark Tank in terms of who's going to be receiving this content. Don't just, envision your target audience or, some of the investors you've seen move the top Start Engine or WeFunder, Republic, Net Capital campaigns. Really tailor it to your specific offering based on your company, your stock, and understand that all of those audiences are going to see the content. When we're running advertising, paid content, we can get metrics on specific individuals. We can individual demographics, at a minimum. We can alter the messaging so that it's more personalized, more custom towards different audiences. But it's a stadium. It's a digital arena of all of these different targets that are going to be following what you distribute on your portal updates, on those offering pages, on your social media platforms, in your email, in press, paid press, financial email newsletters, anyone covering you that is working with you to create that content. So I go back to, sell me this pen. You're going to change it up based on who you're selling it to. You're going to point at different areas of development, different aspects, depending on who you're going after. And you want to incorporate each of those different angles into a content strategy for these campaigns.
Definitely want to add, this doesn't just start and stop in the beginning of the campaign.
Yeah.
This is throughout the campaign. We've seen in the past where, in the beginning of the campaign, they're a little more open to hear about your investment opportunity. But, the more and more you talk about it, the more and more annoyed a potential investor can be. So you want to change, the way you have that messaging. Maybe switch out the subject line, do some A/B testing, with some investor language in that subject line, and then some without, and see what produces more, what gets you those higher open rates and click-through rates. We definitely have seen that happen, and we've changed the messaging, and it's worked out. So definitely don't just start and stop here in the beginning. Think of these steps throughout your campaign.
Touch point 2, touch point 22 can feel a lot different. So, Richard, can you go over some of these examples here with Elon Musk, our customer persona example?
Yeah, so definitely just understanding, where your potential investor is coming from, right? So if you have information on them, that's always beneficial or can be beneficial to your campaign. It's also about, that initial research that you do about, who is attracted to your offering. These are, your core audience. You always want to take them into consideration when, you're putting together messaging, even if you're on a live webinar, just different talking points that you establish. It's about resonating with that potential investor or, the customer persona, and just understanding what motivates them, what drives them to make a decision. Because at the end of the day, with all our initiatives, we're trying to get them to convert, right? And overall, the research that we do on a day-to-day basis is geared towards that and geared towards, having good conversions off of content, having, even good open rates. And that all boils back down to messaging, as Khalil mentioned earlier, testing different things, even through email marketing, A/B testing, subject lines, preview text, so because no one wants to be badgered, as we've established. So it's all about, training their minds based on what you already know about them through the persona that's already been established.
Yeah. And when we're looking at these personas, these information points, we want to see them evolve. So if we learn more about the fictional, Elon over time, representing actual, individuals that we speak to, we want to have the persona updated because we may be able to understand how to speak to them, how to communicate with organic content more and more, uh, as we learn about them. So I rarely see campaigns that have it built out to this level. Sometimes I'll hear a vague generalization, but just look at what we have to work off of here. We can repeat some of the words that they use. I mean, we got a quote. uh, the last part of the quote sounds pretty good. What if we put sounds pretty good into a piece of content? We're using the same language, we're mirroring. Mirroring's an important part with interpersonal communications and even mass communications, being able to involve that type of messaging that they use, that type of language will likely produce a stronger response. Understanding their frustrations again can create content around that. Brands that they follow, we already discussed. Factors influencing buying decisions. Will this help me change the world? We could absolutely talk about changing the world in messaging. May have to give it some thought to do it in a meaningful way, but there's a lot that can be taken from here. And if I'm asking founders of companies that are issuing that are, let's say prospective clients of ours, what, who they're creating the content for, they may not have these personas built out. They may think it's, flat, just one type of audience member, but you really want to have an understanding of how each different target is going to communicate. I want to get into this next step of how to create a content strategy. We've looked at the target audience a little bit. I want to look at the competitors. So what are they saying to those target audiences? You have competitors. They're competing for mind share of those target audiences. I was going to say share of voice and these other advertising terms, but that they're competing for that audience's their overall time, their actions, their budget. So even if it's not a direct, product, a direct company that's like yours, it could be another Reg CF issuer that's going after investments from that same audience. Facebook ads, you click on one Reg CF ad, you're going to start seeing ads for other Reg CF opportunities. Look at those other issuers, what's happening on their website, what's happening on their offering page, how often are they putting out articles? You can see the blog here. What types of articles are getting the best engagement? Are they doing live broadcasts such as webinars? How often? Who do they have as guests? Are they appearing on different podcasts, different conferences? Have you signed up for their email? Do you know how often they're sending it out? Are you looking at different platforms to get a gauge of who else is talking about them on their email newsletter, especially financial email newsletter? What are they doing on their social media channels? You need to understand everything they're doing to obtain market share. You really need to get a gauge on what they're presenting to your target audience. And with digital, you can. Physical, you have a competitor talking to one of your prospects on the other side of the room. So you go to an investor event and you see one of these other groups trying to pitch your investor on the other side of them. What are you going to do? Interrupt them? No. You just know that it's happening. You may not be able to hear. With digital, you could see. This is what they're presenting to those same audiences you're trying to get capital from. So why would you not study it? Especially if it's working. Why would you not look to adopt different approaches and techniques into your own model, your own your own communication strategy? I'm amazed by how many groups skip these steps. And I can name, half a dozen tools for each one of these different boxes to show you where you could find information about what these groups are putting out.
Yeah. And, we have here pro tip, create a learning email. Ask your investors directly what they want to hear from you, what they want to see, maybe create a Google Sheet survey and, with different questions of, what type of content do you want to see from us? What type of business updates do you want to learn about? And, just get it from them directly. Why go into any marketing strategy blind? You want to know what your investors are looking for. Every investor is going to be different. So that way, now you have all this ammo to produce different types of content to please different types of investors. No one wants to see the same thing over and over and over again. So coming in with different aspects of your content strategy can, really come a long way and keep your investors engaged and intrigued for a long period of time.
And yeah, just to add to that, Khalil, it's something that we also do here at DNA. Every Monday morning, Jason goes through the equity crowdfunding report. We utilize different tools to analyze, the top performing campaigns, seeing what they're doing for, email marketing, going through an audit, picking one or two, going through their raise page, also going on their website, see what blogs they're doing, see what they're doing for social media, see if they have any live events coming up. And, we basically look on their successes and see how we can even incorporate it into what we do. So, marketing is something that changes every single day. It's not something that's set in stone. It's like technology, it changes. So we always have to implement that research aspect of it and utilize different tools to prepare ourselves for success and prepare our clients for success. And it's all a research game. Never be afraid to put that effort into, what your competitor is doing. And there's many different tools out there for you to utilize.
Yeah, and to put it in real life terms, think of it as working out. You're on a new workout plan. It works, for the first 2, 3, 4 months maybe. But then at some point you're gonna hit a plateau and you're gonna have to switch things up. If you keep doing the same thing, you're just gonna constantly, maintain. You're not going to exceed, your expectations and, hit your weight goal, or what, it could be your physical weight, it could be, a bench press weight, whatever it is. If you don't change your routine, you're going to just stay the same, and everyone who has changed their routine is going to surpass you. So don't be afraid to try new things. Maybe the new thing is what you needed to really exceed and take that next step. I had to put in a real life thing in there for Jason. Jason's big on that. So Jason, I think we lost you. We can't hear you.
I appreciate that, especially related to material. Anything outside of the weight room, I just kind of lose. So I appreciate the workout. No, I'm joking. It's good to have the offline online scenarios, compared, contrasted, and sometimes marketers spend more time defending why they do things versus testing out new ways of reaching their target audience. Speaking to their target audience. I could tell you about traditional agencies when I first started that weren't using digital, and now all agencies for the most part use digital. In fact, if groups don't, they're looked at as an out-of-home agency, for billboards or for broadcast, or whatever it may be. It's more of a niche that they're not using digital at this point. That's a broad, vague example, but you always want to be searching for what's best. So as Richard mentioned, we'll look at the top issuers. We'll then try to break down how they did it. How did they raise 800K in a week? Probably from 1,800 different investors. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats on 3 brands in your niche. Do this regularly. Do it once a month, once a week, once a quarter at a minimum. If you never do it, it's a blue ocean strategy. Nothing else out there. But success leaves clues. Perform a keyword analysis on 3 brands in your niche using a tool like SEMrush, search engine marketing. Search engine marketers understand traffic dynamics to a great degree. Study old campaign analytics on platforms like Kingscrowd, Crowdfunding Capital Advisors. This picture of Shaq here researching competitors' content, but it's public. They're putting this stuff out there. They're probably looking at your content. I was at the Regulation A conference from Deal Flow Events last week in New York, and it was refreshing to hear how many people follow our content, our webinars, our articles, our podcasts, and tell me what stood out about what we put together in presentations like this. Meeting issuers, and for me to be able to reference what they're putting out because of our research. They did not feel like I was Shaq here as much as they were happy to hear I saw what they're promoting. It's out there for a reason. Take a look at it, see how you can incorporate it, because your target audiences certainly are.
Yeah, and then the phase 2, it's talk about, we want to not only look at what you're doing on the marketing standpoint, but we also want to see what they're doing, on the raise page standpoint. As we're doing a SWOT on our competitors' marketing channels, do a SWOT on your competitors' raise pages. See what type of content they're putting out on their portal updates. Are they responding to investors' comments and messages? What type of pitch video do they have on the top of their page? There's times where we've seen the most successful campaigns have a pitch video, and the campaigns that don't have a pitch video, it takes a little longer for them to get their goals. I'm not saying they're not successful. It's just it's probably not as quick as someone who has that video right there in the beginning to instantly catch someone's attention. Talk about their perks, their investor testimonials. The perks is a big one. There's incentives to become an investor sometimes, and that's probably what it takes for a lot of investors to really pull that trigger and become an investor because they were intrigued by those perks. What perks do you have? If you invested $1,000, what do I get? Do I get early bonus shares? Do I get a t-shirt? Do I get a name added to a project? So, highlight those investor perks in your content.
So as you're doing this research among competitors, among audiences, you should get a pretty good idea of where the conversation is taking place and therefore where you should be focusing on your channel distribution selection. So different age groups, different demographics, all prefer different platforms. I'm on Instagram a lot. We have team members that are never on Instagram, they're only on TikTok. I have family members that are on neither. They're on Facebook, but regularly. Facebook, there's misconceptions. I mean, you got over 1 billion daily active users, over 1 billion people on the planet today will be on Facebook. So any audience you're looking to reach. However, you may want to prioritize where you're distributing content. So there are generalizations. Corporate audiences are on LinkedIn, younger people on Instagram, Gen Z is on TikTok, but you need to see where the discussion is happening in between your competitors and your audiences and look to have a presence there. This may already be established from your primary marketing strategy, your growth. May need to be evolved further. And I can tell you many brands we work with that is the case. It would make sense for anywhere you're running advertising to have your own organic channels and your own organic distribution. So, I'll get requests to run TikTok ads and find a brand has no presence on TikTok. Look backwards. You want to start with organic, especially with their discovery machine, where you can build an audience much quicker than other platforms accordingly. But make sure your organic is on point. You can then look to get more traffic, more eyeballs with paid advertising on any of those platforms. But knowing your audience is crucial. You need to understand where your target demographic is most active online.
Yeah. And to add a little bit more onto that, don't just hop into a platform just because society is saying that this is where everyone is at. As Jason mentioned, be where your audience is. You can develop an audience on the other platforms and, slowly post there and then, kind of splinter off your content to post it on those other platforms and develop that follow basis. And then from there, you can, maybe add more content, add more emphasis on those platforms. But, don't just put all your eggs in one basket just because everyone's saying, we got to be on TikTok. Facebook, as Jason mentioned, there's, people have their opinions on Facebook, but Facebook's still a huge platform to be on. So, why change that up just because everyone's saying, oh, you have to be on TikTok? No, TikTok can be, for anyone. It's not just for Gen Z. But yeah, just wanted to make sure people are aware of that just because someone's saying, you got to hop in here and it's a new thing, doesn't mean it's always the best decision for your campaign.
It's all about how you use these tools, not just what tools you're using. You can crush it on Facebook for virtually any vertical. You can also do a very mediocre job and just be distributing content there and getting no engagement. Can enhance it a bit with the paid promotion side. How do you map all this out, Richard? On your
Yeah,
what's been most effective?
definitely. I think these 3 points kind of touch on, when someone enters the funnel, right? So, awareness, consideration, decision. Those are like the 3 steps. Awareness, creating, different educational materials around what your company does, who your company is, even educating people on what equity crowdfunding is. We utilize a piece here at DNA, Equity Crowdfunding 101. It's kind of just explaining to people what equity crowdfunding is, how they can get involved in the company, grow with the company, which is the overall goal. After that, the consideration definitely just, showing different updates of what's going on in the company, showing that company traction. Because as we mentioned earlier, due diligence, right? People want to see movement for them to invest. And once you're showcasing that movement, it excites people naturally. Like, let's say, for instance, people invest in Apple whenever they, launch a new product. That's a form of, educating that audience, showing them, what's coming up and getting them excited to invest. And the decision is showing, people that have already invested in your company, utilizing investor testimonials. You can, find those on, raise pages. Even if you go through your comments, someone that has already invested in your company, you can make a whole piece on that. Say, hey, thanks to X, Y, and Z for investing in our company. Thank you for believing in our vision. Even if it's just like a top investor that invested probably over certain amounts, that's something to pinpoint. That's something to highlight. It shows that there's a line around the block to invest in your company. It shows that people are extremely interested in that offering. So utilize things like that, even if it's you have, people within your vertical that have been in previous positions that are notable to, what you're doing. Like, let's say as an advisor, that's something to highlight as well. That's something that can influence a decision or, be very beneficial in the consideration process. So it's all about, these are like the 3 steps of where we take even long form content, how we, speak about webinars or, anything like that. These are the tools that we utilize.
Khalil, you want to talk about the world famous checklist?
Yeah. And for everyone watching and viewing this deck, we did add a link here on the bottom, of our actual checklist. And yeah, so essentially our checklist is all the content you need to be utilizing throughout your campaign and talk about. Talk about different milestones. You want to talk about, if the company has a new location, any new team members, or any new board advisors. All of this is content that investors want to learn about and read about and, digest before making a decision. Don't miss out on these different touch points. Throw a live event, have a webinar, bring people on to those events to really, talk about the brand and the company. uh, you know every big moment happening throughout the campaign needs to be talked about, needs to be emailed to your investors or even to your clients or to your customer base, because the easiest ones to turn into investors is your customers, because they already, bought your product. They already have, they already made that decision to give you either money to buy the product. So it's, showcase all this information to your email list, to your investor community, to your marketing channels. Really put the word of your momentum out there.
There are many other resources out there as well. There's the WeFunder playbook. Start Engine has its set of resources. Every portal has something in terms of recommendations. We've run webinars with various different portals over the years and created content with, everyone mentioned here as well. Success leaves clues, talk to experts, talk to people who've been down this road. We've worked on over 400 campaigns, whether it's us, whether it's another marketing agency, a quarterback, a lot of great, quarterbacks and consultants out there as well too. Many that we work with on the advertising side. Ask questions, do whatever you can to increase your likelihood of success, because it's really the top 10% of campaigns that are moving. Bottom 50%, not too much raised on a monthly basis. Generally, just in terms of averages, under 10K per month raised by over half of the issuers out there. the top 10%, 130K or more, some months, 200, 250K or more as the 10%. The top 10, usually 7-figure, over 600K type marks raised in that individual month. You should be leveraging all of the resources available to you that you can, whether you are founder, a marketer, VC industry professional, maybe it's one of your portfolio companies, maybe you're at one of the investment crowdfunding portals. You want to do whatever you can to hit the goal metrics, or to fully utilize this vehicle of Reg CF, Regulation A+, 506C, what have you, because most groups are not able to hit the goals. And even if you are, you want to be able to do it in a streamlined fashion, in a way that creates the most impact for you in terms of growth of the organization and audience base, not just the capital itself. So I would request access to this deck, request access to the link, get in touch with us, talk with every portal, talk with every agency, every quarterback. This is not biased towards DNA as much as our commitment to do whatever we can to see a higher success rate industry-wide. We want to do that. It's why we do these educational content pieces. It's why we create these different materials. So encourage you to reach out for that. Now, Richard, when you're developing content, what allows you to save time, while being effective?
Great question. So, organization is one of the foundations of success, right? That's how I think about it. So first, doing research originally on a client, putting all of that information together, establishing initiatives, going over with the team different, ideas that we have after doing that research. Also speaking on or compiling anything that, someone has done before, whether it's, videos, podcasts, anything that we can utilize as a point of information for us to give the team greater tools to utilize throughout the course of the campaign. And that's also establishing, the core points of what we want to speak about and educate the audience on throughout the course. Even if we're throwing it in specific pieces of content, that's very important. Also, one thing that we do, when we're submitting creative requests, we have organized templates in terms of we put hashtag strategies. Everything is outlined in a constructive way for our team to execute. And I think, that even speaks to just the organization of it, having everything in a consolidated place for us to achieve different levels of success from an internal standpoint.
These campaigns aren't long,
Yeah.
average rate of 3 months, for these campaigns. So we want to do everything we can to really make sure we are utilizing every single second of those 3 months. We create these templates, content templates, for those different milestones that we're reaching throughout the campaign. Whether that's a webinar promo graphic to a milestone graphic, we want to have all of that created. So when we're hitting those different milestones, we can quickly put out a piece of content regarding those different milestones, whether it's a 1 million or a 500 investor community. It's, we want to have that content ready to go. And yeah, when it comes to these video interviews, we are an extension of our clients. We want to utilize the words that are coming straight out of our clients' mouths. And the best way to do that is to get a recording, and it saves us time because we could chop up those recordings and use that for content and ads. So yeah, definitely plan to be as efficient as possible.
So when we're talking about tools and getting organized, content management platforms, we use monday.com. There are many others for project management as a whole. Asana, Trello are on here. File and asset management, Google Drive, Dropbox, team communications, Slack, Microsoft Teams, but have all of this dialed. When we're looking at leveraging interviews and video content, this is an important piece of it, is what tools are we using and how are we distributing. It's easy enough to put together an interview, but we'll like to outline, interview, transcribe, write it out, and then we could get a piece of content out fairly quickly while capturing the key moments that would resonate with prospective investors offline, and being able to put that in a long format. Article writing, you could get various responses of, I'm not a writer, we need to hire somebody, I'm not sure what to do. You can be putting this together and basing it on your own words, your own discussions you're having on a daily basis.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Jason, just to show people, how we approach it, our copywriters reach out to clients. They do those interviews, they come with an outline to those interviews with the clients, have a detailed list of questions on, what talking points they want to establish, just to educate themselves more, and also get key points that we want to speak about throughout the course of the campaign. We get that transcribed, and then, we start production. And that's really the process, is something that's been working, because at the end of the day, we want to be able to tell your story the best way we can and speak as if we are you. So it's all about understanding you. And, that's, really why it's one of the steps to success, leveraging these interviews and also building a personal relationship and setting you up for success and setting you up to be the star of the show.
Exactly. And then repurposing for shorter form content. How do we create the templates from there, Khalil, so we can make it more systematic in getting more content developed and distributed for in-house, not an agency, this for audiences that are developing this in-house for the most part. How can you then streamline future content production?
Yeah, I mean, regardless whether a client is signed with us for content or not, and if say that they're signed on for strategy, we do produce 2 weeks worth of content for our clients, just so they can hit the floor running when their campaign goes live. We want every campaign to succeed. We want every campaign to reach their goals, whether they're working with us or not. So having these having these templates created in that strategy phase, they can take those templates and work off them and make it their own. And we utilize these templates on it for our end to really hit that floor run. And so we, when it comes to those different milestones, it's good to go. Testimonial, say that a lead investor left a raving review, we're going to take that testimonial and add it to our Canva document. And then same with the holiday posts, those are very easy to create. Those are all listed out on the calendar, so it's very easy to get those holiday posts created right away. And then as well as the campaign promos, the market opportunity, and then like I mentioned, the webinars. It's having that just ready to go. It's going to save you a lot of time, so you can put a lot of effort somewhere else, whether that's talking to the audience, engaging with them, responding to comments. If this time is used wisely, it's gonna just excel you.
I know I try to do this personally, and it's easier said than done, balancing 30 other things out in a given day. You want to have this all organized into a clean content calendar with templates that can be repurposed for future production, also for consistency for the audience. And how do I extend the value of my content? Basically, social media splinters, publisher outreach, email and updates, growth and engagement campaigns. So you get that video, as Richard's mentioning, you do a video interview, you repurpose the answers into an article, you then splinter it out into social media posts, you talk about it in your email, you talk about it in your portal update, you reach out to publishers saying, hey, look what we're creating over here, we could do something like this with you, and overall advertising, growth and engagement campaigns. Splintering content's a strategy to repurpose content by breaking up large pieces into smaller chunks for social media and other content channels. You aggregate a blog list into an infographic or carousel. You can create a list of quotes from your blog posts. You could break up a blog, an article into individual posts, create video and audio clips from that. When we do a monthly webinar with clients, we'll create an article. We'll talk about it on social media, on email. We'll have advertisements, getting more webinar signups for the audience. We'll have advertisements, distributing the video further. There's so much you can do with a strong piece of content. I speak at a lot of these events. I do this, with our panel, fireside chat, presentation, keynote content. Many other speakers do not. And when I share these ideas with them, you can see the light bulb go off and they start to incorporate it and grow accordingly. And I, of course, follow speakers who are doing this daily.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where people are saying, I don't have content, I don't have anything. And, it's very easy to repurpose and create content. All it takes is one webinar or one podcast or one article to create 2, maybe 3 weeks worth of content. Cut those up to pieces and then, posting 3 times a week. And for a whole month, that's 12 posts right there. Very, very easy to do. So, when we hear, oh, we don't have content, we don't have time to create content, it's like, you already have that content created. It's very easy to do. It just takes one day or, an hour, maybe 2 to cut that up and, plan your campaign calendar.
Now, when we're talking about content and splintering, we talked about, transforming a webinar or podcast into a blog post, vice versa, aggregating a list of testimonials, just some more ideas here, aggregating a list of campaign updates to showcase your progress and tell your brand's story. All this can be taken from that interview. I knew agencies that would work with founders and treat them as influencers and have them come into the office for 4 hours a month. And then the takeaways that came out of those discussions and those video interviews, they would populate a month of very in-depth content pieces. So each day, social, video, all this stuff coming out. What about publisher outreach, Richard? How can you use an anchor piece of content? Let's say it's a video interview to produce earned media.
Yeah, it's just all about using or utilizing it as like a third party validation piece, right? Who is talking about you, who is talking about your campaign, it will ultimately catapult you to different levels and different points of success. If multiple people are talking about you, it's always a success point. Leveraging someone else's audience is definitely something that's very important if you want to be successful within the vertical. And it's also just finding, different people that are in that specific niche. So let's say you're planning a raise or your campaign is live, reaching out to like a Benzinga or a Yahoo Finance, someone of that nature that can put eyes on your campaign through their efforts as well.
Yeah, and then it's it's kind of a win-win. One, you get published onto someone's publication, and 2, you can use that for third-party validation. You can post it on your social media, you can create an ad, you can make a portal update, create an email around it and say, hey, we've been published on Benzinga, we've been published on Yahoo Finance. Everyone knows those logos. Everyone knows the value that those publications bring. So being highlighted in one of those publications can really wow a potential investor.
Absolutely. And then when that happens, you want to distribute across all channels, including your email. Email is still one of the strongest and highest performing channels in digital marketing, let alone an equity crowdfunding campaign. A weekly newsletter is really a must to keep your audience engaged and just keep growing your list, even if it's small in the early stages. Updates, portal updates allow you to communicate directly with your investor community. Also great tool for potential investors to do their own due diligence and to see that type of activity, that type of movement. So, for email, create an investor list or segment, aggregate your first degree networks, family, friends, network contests, add in investors from your campaigns, even grow it with advertising running to email list growth, run a lead form ad campaign, email them weekly at a minimum, as we mentioned, campaign promos and updates, blog posts, email as a teaser to get them to click and convert, or at least get them to see the headline, relevant press, webinar, podcast episodes, plenty of things you could publish on your own, plenty of different podcasts and other media platforms to be able to reach out to collaborate on content. And they're always looking for guests. Product and service development, new partners, all of that can be, featured in the email here. And then lastly, we could all add to this, growth and engagement campaigns, running your content, like it's, advertising. So running Facebook like campaigns to boost on top of content that's getting a good response organically, boosting the posts themselves, reaching out to investors and influencers to give your shout outs or to share your content, asking warm audiences to share with engaging calls to action. All of this can get you to new levels. If you see a content post that you're getting, 10%, 20% more engagement from your audience around, why not spend 10 grand and get 10,000 other people to click on it? Maybe 500,000 other people to see it. It's already working, so let's get some more eyeballs on it. Those 10,000 people, it could be 10,000 visitors to your offering page that follow. You may get 200 investments off of that. So all of this can be part of the discussion for your content marketing strategy. We're always available for questions and to take the discussion further from there. Khalil, Richard, anything you want to add as we wrap here?
Yeah, one last thing I want to add. This doesn't stop when the campaign is over. Just because the campaign is over, you shouldn't stop your marketing. People want to know what is going on in between raises, because this might not be your last campaign. You might run another crowdfunding campaign, and people are going to want to know what happened in between raises. We have a whole webinar around that topic, what to do in between raises. And you want to stay marketing, you want to keep your investors updated with what's going on, and just highlight any traction that a lot of times on the raise pages, the update sections are still active. We have clients that are still working with us that aren't currently running a crowdfunding campaign, but we are working with them to make sure we're posting a monthly portal update, because a lot of times, investors are going to get upset if they're not constantly communicated with.
You heard it here. What's that, Richard? What do you want
Oh
to
yeah.
add?
Definitely just saying, a good strategy is the first point of any successful campaign, any successful initiative. Educating yourself, doing the adequate research on, any marketing initiative that you're gonna execute, for your company, for your brand, for your raise. It's all about letting people know who you are, from beginning to start and after, as Khalil was mentioning. It doesn't stop. It's, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll continue to say this, icing on it. Marketing is the lifeblood of any company. So, we have to continue to do that and, yeah, have a good strategy to get people to different levels.
I love that. 100% echo it. And if you're not speaking to us already, get in touch. You can find Khalil, you can find Richard, you can find myself on LinkedIn, send us a message. We love talking marketing. Can always talk about, can always speak to live campaigns and what investors we're bringing in today, when investors come in while we're, on this webinar speaking. We are an open book. We look at it as a duty to share these insights towards that higher success rate industry-wide. So I want to thank you for tuning in today. Khalil, Richard, thanks for an awesome webinar here.
Yes, of course.
We'll be looking forward to July.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a
Talk
good one.
soon.
Bye.